So I've just recorded an extra bonus episode to share here, and I know, I said the season was over, but yeah, something inspired me to return, and so I just recorded it, and then I've listened back, and the background noise is so loud. That I just couldn't put you through it. So I am re recording it. Let's see where this goes. I'll probably forget half the things that I said originally, but hopefully it will still be of some service. So, yeah, let's dive in. Welcome to the Henny Flynn podcast, the space for deepening self awareness with profound self compassion. I'm Henny. I write, coach, and speak about how exploring our inner world can transform how we experience our outer world, all founded on a bedrock of self-love. Settle in and listen and see where the episode takes you. So I use that term inspiration, and that was going to be the heart of what I talk about today. I don't know if you've heard or listened to or seen the Elizabeth Gilbert TED Talk on genius. I can't remember what the actual title of it is, but if you Google that, you will get it. I'm absolutely sure. It was fascinating study of where does inspiration come from? Where does this concept of the genius, as in, the person, the creator, the often we use the term the master, who, sort of holds this huge well of creativity within themselves. And what she shares in the TED Talk is that actually, way back in the day, in sort of Greco-Roman times, the concept of genius was much more that we had a muse that was something other than us, not another human, but something other. So, what we now might call source or spirit or universe or divine inspiration, whatever language resonates with us. And that, the font, the source of the creativity came from this something other. It didn't come from within the human form that ended up being the kind of the vessel to manifest it and to put it out into the world. And then I think it was sort of around the time of the Enlightenment, we came to an understanding that actually the genius was within the human, was the human. The human was the genius, rather than recognizing the experience that so many of us have, which is that we get our inspiration from something outside of us. And Elizabeth Gilbert shares a couple of really fantastic stories. One, which I think it's Leonard Cohen. If you've seen the TED Talk, please correct me if I'm wrong. Where he's driving along in the car, and a song just lands within him. It's like it just drops down from the sky into him, and he ends up kind of shouting up into the ether, can't you see I'm driving? Like, he didn't have a pen and paper and wasn't able to capture the inspiration that was there. And then another story, beautiful story about a poet who shared that when she was a young girl working in the cotton fields, she could feel a poem rolling across the fields, like rolling across from the horizon towards her, and she had to run home in order to get there before the poem landed in and through her, so that she was able to capture the words and the inspiration that was there. I love this idea, and it's something, I wonder, does that resonate with you? Have there been times where you've created something, or maybe written some words in your journal, or had an idea for how to solve a problem, or suddenly found yourself knowing the words to say, and then on reflection thinking, gosh, where did that come from? For me, writing the books that I share, and in fact, actually, even doing this podcast, like so often I feel as though it's not really me. And I'm very aware that that sounds a bit odd. Uh, or it could sound like like a dreadful affectation as well, like oh, I'm so special, I've got divine inspiration. But my feeling is that we all have this, we all experience this at times, and and I think maybe the act of journaling is a really sort of clean, clear channel where I experience that. I think many artists experience it when they're in the process of creation. Like we might call it flow as well. And in that state of flow, ideas emerge and form and coalesce that we might never have been able to attend to pay attention to, if we're up in that rationally thinking, cognitive part of the brain. And so I just wanted to sort of open up this idea of like, where does inspiration come from? And maybe there's a journaling prompt in there that could be really beautiful to write to yourself if this is appealing for you. So maybe something like, sorry, I'm shutting my eyes and just going deep into my inner self, just to see what that flow journaling prompt might be. And perhaps something like, oh, when I sense the hand of inspiration. Yeah, that sort of feels, or when I hear the voice, when I hear the whispered voice of inspiration. Dot dot dot. I'll put both of those into the notes. It's interesting, that one about hand. There's a part of me that sort of separates from that in some way, but I'm also curious about the where that word came from. Actually, this idea of like, sometimes it is a bit like having a hand just placed so gently on our shoulder, or hand even like holding the pen or holding the paintbrush, or or crafting the clay, or whatever it might be, whatever our medium is. And sort of just, or even, or sensing inspiration kind of flowing through us, maybe in the kind of like the rise of the words coming up from our belly rather than down from our brain. So let's see. I'm gonna write to that hand one and just see what arises for me. Maybe I'll share that next week. And then the other thing that I wanted to share. Oh yeah, and I was sort of thinking actually about this idea of inspiration. And actually, when you might have seen and heard that my latest book, Everyday Compassion, is now ready for pre-order. I'm so grateful to everybody that's already ordered. If that includes you, thank you so much. If you're curious to find out more, then there's a link in the show notes. It's 365 days of ordinary kindness. It's tiny notes filled with love. And I'd had this kind of idea. I've been kind of wearing the idea for a little while that I wanted to do a series of emails that were offering little drops of love, little drops of kindness, to go into people's inboxes, because I'm so aware of how overwhelmed so many of us are. And I wanted something that didn't demand anything of the reader, that was simply just this tiny little generous gift. And I thought about it, and that didn't get me anywhere. So then I just felt into it and trusted that something would arise. And then as I was driving home from the garden centre one day, this is about 2.5 years ago, I felt like I drove through a wall. I mean, it was literally that kind of feeling, like a wall, not like a hard wall, but this invisible wall. I drove through it, and as I drove through it, the knowledge of how to share everyday compassion became suddenly clear. And actually, the phrase, I mean, I don't really use it in association with emails, but the phrase that really came to me was love is easy. And that's the kind of like the essence of these messages, because love, obviously, human love is complex and hard. And so, I haven't used that phrase. But within that came this phrase, everyday compassion. And so that became the name of the email series that have been going out to hundreds of people for the last couple of years. And it's the name of the book. But for me, like, the really interesting part here is that sense of inspiration. It's, driving in my car, suddenly this thing landed. And I remember like driving along and having to kind of repeat the things because some of the actual messages landed in me, and I just had to drive home and keep repeating them to myself, and then run into the house and grab a pen and paper and write them down. And hey, that sounds a bit similar to what Elizabeth Gilbert was sharing. And so I kind of want to share this because I feel it is so human. I feel it is so available. We are not, as human beings, um, you know, sort of special in the sense that no human being is more special than any other. And every human being has the capacity to meet themselves with the kind of openness and love. Oh, I'm going a little bit off piste here, but I just feel that, when we as a human race decided that it's the person who's the genius, we lost connection with something that is so important, and that is the recognition of this something other, this something divine, which isn't just there for the mystics and the and the priests and the and the people who who tell us that they have a connection with God. It's there for all of us. Yeah, I've realised I've just strayed into some really big territory there, actually. So, gosh, how does that land for you? Um, does that resonate, or does that make you feel a bit uncomfortable, or does that make you feel, oh yeah, I kind of like that? Like, where does that take you? Anyway, the other bit of inspiration that also arose just yesterday, in fact, was in a voice note from a girlfriend of mine who is listening now, and she will know who she is. And she just sort of randomly said, "Oh, I know that the podcast season is over. So I'm going to be playing podcast roulette, and I'm just going to spin through and see what episode I land on." And then she carried on speaking, but I just thought, oh, I like that. I like that idea of this podcast roulette. What might be in the archives that could be of service to listen to for all of us. What could be there. So if you receive my Sunday emails, then this Sunday, which will be Sunday the 5th of July, you'll receive the first podcast roulette email, or we could call it a kind of lucky dip email. I don't know which language do we like, and and let's sort of see what's there, and hopefully you'll enjoy listening to it. And if you don't already get those emails, then you can sign up through the website. But I was also inspired by an idea that my friend shared in a subsequent voice note, which was that maybe we could play a kind of version of podcast roulette here. I'm very mindful that roulette has got this sort of gambling connotations and the sensitivity around that, and maybe we can find a word that feels a little bit more in tune with our feelings here. Maybe it is something like lucky dip. Don't know. Let's feel into that. Let's co-create this. But the intention being that you could send me anything that you feel you would love me to share on the podcast. So, a topic, is there a challenge that you're facing into, maybe, or is there a particular thing like, I don't know, like boundaries um, or how to deal with resistance to self-care, or these kinds of like universal themes. Maybe there's something there that you notice would be really interesting to hear more about. Or maybe there's something that you'd find really enriching to explore, something that's got some kind of much deeper sort of layers to it. Or or maybe there's a topic that we've covered on the podcast before and you'd like to go to look at that from a different perspective. So, yeah, whatever, we're open to it all. But basically, anything that ties into these themes of change, whether that's inner change or outer change, um, compassionate self-inquiry, and also, yes, so really looking at the things like the belief systems, the value sets, the stories that we may have inherited or adopted or adapted in our lives. So anything along those lines that feels like you would like to hear more, then drop me a note. You can contact me through the website, hennyflynn.co.uk, or you can email me, henny@hennyflynn.co.uk, and just send in your ideas. And then on the podcast, I'll just flick through them and pick one, maybe more at random, and speak to it. And let's see what emerges. That kind of sounds like fun to me, even if the topics themselves are deep and challenging and very human, like so much of what we talk about here. We don't shy away from the stuff that feels more complicated or painful to hold. So, I think that's me done. This was going to be literally 5 minutes and it's turned into a proper podcast episode. Like, there you go. And the last thing I wanted to say is, if you are curious to be able to find out a bit more about this book of Everyday Compassion, then there's a link in the show notes, or you can find it on the website, hennyflynn.co.uk. It's there on the homepage. And as I said before, I'm so honoured by every single order that comes in, and these pre-orders, they really help with a self-published book, which this is, and the books will actually be properly published in September. So your pre-orders help me work out how many books to print. All right, my darlings, I am sending you so much love and a hug and a wave.